So, you want a thick case, but that shit is always out of stock and you just don't know what to do. You're at your ends meet, you have all this alcohol in your stash and you just don't know what to do with it. Guys, here today, I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to get that first thick case that you've been trying so hard to get from therapists who seems to always be out of stock within 10 seconds. As always, make sure you guys are leaving a like of the video today and make sure you're subscribing to the channel for more Escape from Tarkov content, tips, tricks, money guides, gameplay, and more. So I'd love to have you around. Okay. Here's my friendly advice before we hop into the meat and potatoes of the video here today. The beginning of a wipe, grind as hard as you can to level 35. That is all you need, level 35. Once you're level 35, you unlock the barter. You also unlock the task requirements for therapists, assuming you did the prerequisites. But the most important thing is getting level 35 before everybody else. Why? Number one, you have zero competition on the barter. Number two is the alcohol prices are still dirt cheap. If you hit level 35 before the majority of the public even get the flea market, you're going to be looking at moonshine prices around 140, 130, 150K a piece, and it makes thick cases stupid cheap, and it makes them really easy to stock up early, as you guys can see here. But what about now? We're a little past that, and it seems like when therapists restocks, the thick case is always out of stock every single time. Well, I'm going to give you guys some tips here today to hopefully make you a little more successful in picking one of these up. Now, me personally, I've never experienced a CAPTCHA trying to purchase a thick case. However, there's been reports recently of CAPTCHAs on the trader screen for just grabbing yourself one thick case, not even after you're doing a bunch of barters and shit on the flea. And the way to beat this is just by training yourself and knowing your items. The CAPTCHA is the complete variable and oddball here that I personally can't speak on, that you guys are going to have to beat on your own. But everything else, my tips today, are going to hopefully help you get a couple extra seconds in there to hopefully beat that CAPTCHA if it's plaguing you. So, number one tip is the time you're trying to do the purchase, all right? If you guys are in prime time, 5 p.m., your local time, you're probably not going to get a thick case. If you guys are on your local time, and the best time for this is probably around 4 a.m. Eastern time, that's going to be 1 a.m. over on the West Coast. But on Eastern time, 4 a.m. is probably going to be your money time. Now, I know 4 a.m. is probably really inconvenient for 90% of the people watching the video, but if you want a damn thick case, go ahead and set yourself an alarm for 4 a.m., hop on Tarkov, and wait for that restock. So when you are logging on at a really dead time, you're going to have less people competing with you. It's pretty much common sense. Less people on the game, more of a chance that you trying to get this thick case is going to happen. So that is my tip number one. The next one are kind of combined. So it's going to be your restock timer and the inventory count on other items in therapist's inventory. The docs case, the key tool, the injector case, stuff like this, you can see that they don't have even stock numbers. The key tool, for example, might stock 1,000 every single restock. If it's at 891, it's really safe to say that there's been some purchases. So when you are refreshing your traders and you see that number go from 891 to 1,000, a trader has been restocked and you need to jump on your barter. That goes for every single trader, not just for therapists and not just for this thick case barter. It goes for everything that sells out super quick here in Tarkov. Now, the next thing that is super important is to use your refresh wheel up here right next to your trader name. In this case, because of the thick case, we're going to be doing therapist. The trader wheel will help you out. This is your refresh wheel. You used to be able to do F5. It seems to be bugged this wipe, or they just took it out completely, so you can't like super spam refresh on the traders. And it seems like the cooldown is about 10 to 15 seconds on that refresh wheel. So realistically, you're probably looking at 5 to 6 refreshes every single minute. And the reason that's important is because your trader timer is usually off. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So right here on our trader timer, it says 1 hour and 14 minutes and change. I want to show you something. So when we go to, let's just say Propital, and we go to our trader only, which we can do our filter here, we're going to see that therapist is at 1 hour and 12 minutes. If we go to our traders, therapist is at 1 hour and 13 minutes and change, and over half a minute over that. So we're looking at about 90 to 100 seconds of a variance on our trader times. This is super important. Every time you log in, this trader time might be off a little bit more or a little bit less. I've seen it as bad as 3 or 4 minutes at a time, which is insane to think about. Mainly at the beginning of the game when the regular shitty 5.56 ammunition was selling out every single restock right at the beginning. I noticed that Peacekeeper sometimes was off by like 4 fucking minutes. It was terrible. So make sure you guys are looking on the flea market and at your traders. Find the correct time. Typically, you're going to see that that flea market time is usually a little more inaccurate. So if you're trying to get the THICC case off the flea market, you might have a little bit more trouble. Typically, your time is going to be a little bit closer, but sometimes it's the other way around. So don't always rely on that. But make sure you're looking at both times and refreshing at both times so you have a good chance to get that item. You know, if you're off by 90 seconds on something that has a limited supply like the THICC case, you're going to miss it. There's so many people competing for them, you are going to miss it. That right there are pretty much my only tips for you. There's nothing else I can do for you to give you an advantage, an edge in any way, shape, or form. It's all going to be just up to you and your discipline to watch the restock timer. Make sure you guys are logging on at a really good time. Make sure you're checking these inventory numbers as well. It's a really good way to see if a trader has restocked. Maybe you are just going into therapist's inventory. You see the timer at like 0. You go into therapist's inventory. You see the Propital at 2,000. Scroll down. Boom. Click a deal. You know, you have to be ready. You have to be speedy. And you have to be ready for that capture if it does come up. Like I said, I personally can't speak on that because I've never had it happen. But if it's happening to you, you have to be ready. Train yourself to know your items. And the more you do that, the more times you attempt it, you're going to hit it eventually. Just keep plugging away at it. And I'm sure you guys will grab yourself a THICC case sooner than later. Hopefully you found something at least a little helpful in the video here today. Maybe found something informative as well. That like is greatly appreciated. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Sponsors and equipment in the description below. It's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm out.